Hello everyone, Dr. Houck again. I thought I would take a few minutes and go through some essential information that you'll need to excel in this course. I have a list here of things and I'll go through them. But this stuff is quite important, and I think it'll really help you as you move through the semester. Okay, let me take it from the top. A couple of things here I've already addressed in another video, or I will address another video depending on what order you watch them in. This course is Religions of the World, right? So you can tell by the title, we don't pre-bias any one particular religion. There are, after all, 10,500 religions in the world, and we approach them objectively. So that's important to keep in mind. So, as is mentioned in one of the other videos, the approach here is going to be scholarly, academic, objective, agnostic, global, and cultural relativistic. So please try to keep that in mind as we move through the course, and it might cause you, or I should say, I would encourage you to avoid your personal opinionated take on religions, because here we're going to try to stay data-based as much as we possibly can, because religion is something that happens in this real world that we live in. So clearly there's a lot of data to draw off of. Also, too, please note, and this is mentioned as well in another video, the claims and beliefs of the world's religions are not falsifiable. In other words, we can't really know if they're true or false because there's no data to bring to bear on these issues. Being agnostic, quote unquote, when it comes to religions and the beliefs of the various religions is a very reasonable point of view. In any case, it's the anthropological approach. Okay? All right, this course has been changed somewhat. I hope you appreciate the fact that I have cut down on the material quite a bit in the course and cut down on the workload. And I've done all this in two ways. Number one, instead of writing fairly extensive 3, 4, and 5-page essays every week, you will now simply complete an assignment, which would be sort of like a quiz or a mini exam on each module. Also, too, instead of 8 different modules, there are now only 7. You'll see that I actually include Jainism and Taoism in one module now instead of spreading those out over 2 weeks. And yes, obviously I cut down on the material so I could collapse them into one module. So instead of 8 modules in the course, there's only 7 modules now. By the way, I tried to make all the changes I possibly could to sync up the new version of the course with the old material. I think I've done a pretty good job, but if you notice there's anything amiss regarding how something is mislabeled, don't worry, I'm quite sure everything is where it's supposed to be. So for example, if you click on a instructor video for Module 3, and when it comes up, it says Module 4 discussion or whatever, well, just ignore that because the content will be in its right place. So I think except for a few superficial labeling issues, I'm quite sure everything is good to go because I checked it carefully. However, if you notice something amiss, please let me know and I'll correct it. All right, the schedule. I have a schedule of all the dates here, and I thought I would mention any potential problem areas you may encounter. You'll see that the due dates are posted, I think it might be 5 different places. It's at least 4 different places in the syllabus and a few different places on the module. So there should be a few different places on Moodle, I should say. There should be no issue regarding due dates. They're very plain for you to see, and they're right there, and they're explicit. Please follow them. The penalties are fairly harsh for late work. Also, too, if you've looked at the course yet, or when you look at the course, you'll notice that the discussion videos open 2 days after the due date for a module. So even if you happen to be late getting your work in on a particular module, which is fine, there'll just be a point deduction, but please note there will be an absolute cutoff. 2 days after the due date, the window closes, because I have to open the assignment discussion up, the video discussion up for everyone. And I'm saying I can't delay doing that anymore, or it starts running into the next module. So please note these absolute cutoff dates for work, after which time, if you've submitted nothing, then there'll be a 0. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Exams will be open 4 full days, and they're not timed. So both the midterm and the final are open 4 full days. They're not timed. Again, penalties for being late are severe. Please have them in on time. You do have a book review. It's due July 23rd. But to make this project less cumbersome than it might be, all I ask you to do is, well, first of all, choose a book from the list of approved books. You don't have to run it by me. Just simply stick to the list that's posted on Moodle, and you're good to go. And all I ask you to do is to read the first 2 chapters and the last 2 chapters carefully, and then skim the rest. That should be enough to give you a pretty good idea of what's going on with the book. Certainly if you have enough time to read the whole book, that would be fine. But I thought I would do that just to maybe cut down on the workload a bit. Obviously, please refer to the syllabus for extensive instructions and guidelines regarding the book review. I think that's it for the schedule. Your work will be in your own words, and you will see that that's posted in bold capital type everywhere, bold uppercase type everywhere. You can certainly use materials from anywhere, credible materials. I hope you can tell which materials are credible, which are not. But when it comes time to putting down your work, I insist on reading your own words. Do not ever copy and paste or even copy. There may be an occasion where you may want to use a quote, perhaps. That would be an obvious exception. Of course, you would cite the quote. But other than that, in your own words. I'm reading your words. Any exception to that will result in a 0. I have to be harsh about this because it's an online course. Another point in that regard. Please consider the course materials to be your primary source of information. Of course, I know Wikipedia has some great pages on certain topics. I know you can find a lot of good information, especially on .edu or .gov or .org sites. I understand that. But please note that the assignments are written with the understanding that you are using the course materials, my lectures and the readings, as your primary source of information. I say that because if you have a concept, for example, I'll just pull one out of the air, existentialism. And you simply Google existentialism, go read something, and then try to write about it. No, that's not going to work at all. You more than likely may be talking about something that we didn't even discuss in class. So please, consider the course materials to be the primary materials. When you're doing your module assignments, and this just drives me crazy every semester, frankly, I don't know what else to do about this. My instructions are very, very simple. Please do not change the formatting. Okay? You would think it'd be simple, but apparently it's not. So, for example, if on page 1 of the module assignment there's questions 1 through 14, when I open your work up, I should see questions 1 through 14 with all of those answers on the front page. If the question at the top of page 2 is 15, and the question at the bottom of page 2 is 25, when I open up your work, at the top page 2, I should see the question and answer for 15. At the bottom of page 2, the question and answer for 25. Now, I left you plenty of room to write your work. And by the way, please use 11-point font in your module assignments. So that way we're not changing the spacing and the formatting. So if you have to get a bit creative to keep the formatting as I just described it, please do so. So for example, if the question at the bottom of the page runs long, go above that question and delete some of the blank spaces. I'm sorry to be talking like this, but I do this every semester and it kind of drives me crazy. So please, I'm going to assume you're going to attend to that, and I would appreciate your attention to that matter, okay? The readings, other than just the weekly readings you'll be doing, let me tip you off in regard to 3. For the Buddhism unit, you're going to be reading 3 chapters out of the Buddha book. So you may want to start on that. Of course, there's the book review. We've already discussed that. And then for the Taoism, Jainism and Taoism unit, you're going to be reading the Tao of Pooh. But it's a tiny little paperback that you can read in a couple of afternoons. So that might be your problem areas regarding readings. The time spent on the course. I have a note to myself here. How much time should you spend on the course? Well, good question. Please note that this is an 8-week course. It's normally a semester-length course. So in a course like this during the summer, we will be meeting twice for 3 hours each time. In other words, 6 hours a week. So you should consider that to be the minimum time that you spend on this course. Because after all, you're not in class. If you were taking this face-to-face, you'd be sitting in class 6 hours a week. So you can use that sort of baseline to kind of adjust your workload. And obviously, of course, do as much work as you need to do in order to do well in the course. Please don't ask for extensions. Every module is, by the way, the materials for the entire course will be open as soon as I open the course, which I'm going to do this afternoon. All the materials for every unit are open all semester. It's just the assignments that are staggered and that will open from one week to the next. So please, unless you have a death in your immediate family or your house burns down, please don't write me for an extension. It's very difficult to tend to that. Now, obviously, I'm reasonable. If you have a legitimate emergency, not a trip you want to take or a trip that you had planned, sorry, it's summer school. I was hoping, I would like to think that maybe you would plan better than that. That's not my problem. But if you have a legitimate family emergency, please contact me and we can work something out. I'm very reasonable when it comes to helping my students. But let's avoid that at all costs. Please submit all your work in Microsoft Word. I've been teaching this course for about 4 years now, and I can't ever remember a case when I've had one student that wasn't able to have access to Microsoft Word. I'm not a fan of Microsoft or anything like that, but in regard to working with my office computer, that is by far the easiest platform to work with. So please submit all your work in Microsoft Word. Order your books. Please order. I don't know when you're watching this, but you've already gotten 2 messages about ordering your books, so I hope you've done that. Okay, good luck. Don't hesitate to contact me if you've got any questions about anything.